I am Vaughn Albury. Welcome to Ed Table Talk Unplugged. It's a show produced by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training. It's here where we talk with education stakeholders and other key people about issues affecting education. Nationally, the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training is divided into 10 districts, most here in New Providence. These are headed by district superintendents who act as the liaison between the schools and the ministry. They deal directly with principals, advising, lending advice, monitoring all schools under their remit. Recently, our minister, Glennis Hannah Martin, put these district superintendents on notice that they must play a leading role in finding the thousands of children out of more than 42,000 public school students who went missing from school for 2 years. They never logged on to the ministry's virtual school platform for classes, the mode used to instruct children since the pandemic started March 2020. It is district superintendents who played and continue to play a crucial role on the task force, which resulted in community walkabouts nationwide. Today, we will speak with 3 of them about their work. But first, we go to our Lisa Bullard on more info on the role district superintendents play.
Thank you, Vaughn. The role of a superintendent is to lead and manage and to serve as the chief executive officer of their school district. Superintendents are also responsible for the management of the administrative staff within their school district. They are directly accountable to and carry out the policies of the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training. In keeping with Minister Glennis Hannah Martin's mandate to reach every child, a Learning Recovery Committee was formed in order to provide recommendations and develop strategies for appropriate responses and learning recovery programs to focus primarily on the foundations of literacy and numeracy. District superintendents make up some of the members of the Learning Recovery Committee and were at the forefront of the community walkabouts that were organized as a part of the overall objective to locate and bring back some 8,000 students who were inactive on the virtual learning platform throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. The district superintendents from every school district within the Commonwealth of the Bahamas are working in sync with schools to give support in terms of determining how best to get students to log on and stay on. District Superintendent Marcia Roberts is the chairperson of the Community Walkabout Committee. She, along with her colleagues, have provided rapid assessments and recommendations in an aggressive effort to locate, assist, and get our students back in school.
Thanks, Lisa. Today, we have 3 district superintendents. We will begin with our first, Marcia Roberts. With Marcia Roberts, you wear another hat because you head the committee responsible for the community walkabouts. Tell us about your findings. What did you find when you went about on these walkabouts?
Well, there were a number of findings, but I wish to identify the fact that as the chairperson, we had to ensure that we brought sufficient persons together, stakeholders within the community, as well as others within our education system as well, to assist in this walkabout. And we came up with about 9 objectives. And out of those 9 objectives, we focused mainly on identifying who these missing students are. Once we would have identified these missing students, we then went out, we decided we need to go out and now find them, to sensitize their parents to the need to have these children back in school, and then finally to ensure that we find these corrective measures that are needed to close the gap in their educational experiences.
What did you find on these walkabouts? Because your stakeholders, your partners, were a varied group, and some persons or personnel whom you might not have expected to head these committees. And I am talking about, you have social services and other partners, the police, but also security guards and janitresses. Talk about that.
Yes, yes, they all comprise. We also had our unions along with us, the Bahamas Union of Teachers, as well as our managerial union heads were along with us, and they're members of the union. But we did have our janitresses and our security officers along with us as well. And the reason for choosing those persons are they are the people who know where the children are. The majority of them who were a part of this walkabout lived in the area. So they were able to take us directly to some of these homes and identify those students who have not been coming out, or who have been coming out just for a few days, or who have not been on the within the virtual environment with the LMS. So they were able to assist us in that way, very much so.
What did you find in terms of the responses of the doors which were open to you? And first, were you well received in the walkabouts?
Oh yes, oh yes, most impressive. Everybody, I must say, I can think of that on all walkabouts that we would have done, they were welcoming. They received us well. Our parents were happy to know that there were persons coming to search for their children and to find out what are our needs, how can we help. So that was most impactful for us, to know that there were parents who were there needing the help and were glad to receive the help that we brought for them, or say to them that what was available for them to have, yes.
I went on a walkabout with you, and I was impressed, though somewhat disappointed that a lot of parents decided to keep their children out of school. But once Minister Glenys Anna Martin said, we are working assiduously to get these children back in school, I went on February 1st in southern New Providence, and parents had their children in tow online, and I asked them, and their response is, they just decided to keep their children home. I know you want to do qualitative and quantitative reports. From what the responses you got, what do you make of what the parents said to the community walkabout volunteers?
When we went to various doors, I want to say from a quantitative point of view that we found that the majority of our students that were in-house, we found them on the inside of their homes, were primary students, primary school age. The students that we found walking along the streets were more the secondary, the high school students. However, with those parents, when we went into them and we tried to find out why is it that our students are not present at our schools on the LMS, what is it that we need to assist with? And we got a lot of responses. Our findings indicate, for instance, some parents stated that they did not have the know-how to use the platform, so therefore they could not assist their students or their children. We also found that in some cases they say they did not have devices, but the majority of our students did have devices, and in some cases devices were actually destroyed. And so what happened is we said, we can provide that. Come to the school. That is why we are there. So that level of encouragement took place with our parents. But I wish to also mention, Mr. Albury, that we also found parents that need to be held more accountable for their children's education. Some parents who were there, children had devices, but they did not even know what they were doing on the devices. Things like that. So we really need to hold some of our parents more accountable for the actions of their children, to ensure that their children are indeed a part of this learning experience, whether it be virtual or now that we are face-to-face, to ensure that our children come to school.
These community walkabouts were not just here in New Providence, but nationwide.
Yes.
Were there similarities in your findings?
Yes, there was a common thread, which was, it took us aback that we found that in New Providence, some of our findings were the same as that on our family islands and Grand Bahama. And some of those findings indicated, for instance, that some of our homes were without electricity. Some of our homes did not have internet or Wi-Fi, and that was across our nation that we found that out. We also found that there were some children without devices, not because they were not made available by the schools. It's just that in some cases, our parents or our children did not seek to collect these devices because devices have been provided for them to use. And those that were damaged, we say, bring them in. We will supply you with another one or get that one fixed for you. We just want to make sure that the experience in terms of our learning and our children are getting this type of learning will take place.
Your committee reported positive results, particularly from your walkabout in the Kemp Road community,
Yes.
where most of the children, primary school children, attend the Uriah McPhee Primary School. Has that been duplicated where parents actually received your committee and brought their children to school?
Yes.
Has that been nationwide?
It has been. You know, the Kemp Road Uriah McPhee, the Freetown constituency walkabout, we call it our inaugural walkabout.
Yes.
And it kind of set the pace for the other walkabouts. And we found in that community it was most welcoming. Parents really wanted to know that we were there in search of their children. And we felt really good about that. Now they know, now they understand the help is available. We just need to reach out. And I want to speak specifically about Uriah. As a result of that, the impact it has had on Uriah McPhee School the following day after the walkabout, which was held the 11th of January. On the 12th of January, I went to the school just to check what kind of feedback are we getting. And within one day, we had 30 tablets collected from the school. And by the 24th of January, we had the school's attendance raised by 19%.
Very good.
So that was rather impactful. So this walkabout is and has done quite a lot.
Very, very good. Thank you very much, Mrs. Marcia Roberts. It's time now for our first break. You're watching Ed Table Talk Unplugged. There is much more to come. Stay with us.
Hi there. A lot is happening in education, and that's why the Ministry of Education wants to keep you abreast of the latest information. So here's how. MOE provides a variety of programs, including Ed Talk, Ed Up, Ed Tidbits, Ed Table Talk Unplugged. Log into this channel, the Bahamas Learning Channel, MOE's Facebook page, and YouTube channel. We want to keep you in the know.
Welcome back to Ed Table Talk Unplugged. We are speaking with District Superintendent Marcia Roberts of the Eastern New Providence Primary District, and now we welcome Annette Farquharson, Superintendent of the Northern New Providence Secondary District. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. It's nice to be here.
You're in charge of 11 schools here in New Providence in that district. T.A. Thompson has had a little bit of problems because there's a lot of construction at that school, and now they are still fully virtual. Tell us about that and what has been done to kind of ease the situation for parents and especially students.
Well, on the 28th of December 2021, we realized and we found out that the academic block at T.A. Thompson had some structural concerns. As Safety First Education always is our mandate, it was found that we cannot bring the entire student body on the campus because we do have structural issues. So because of that, it was decided that the students would remain virtual until we can get the situation rectified. Now, the structural engineers are saying it will take approximately 12 weeks to get that up and safe enough for persons to be on the campus. In the meantime, they were conducting online classes, and I'm proud to say that the majority of our students and our parents were ensuring that their children were online and they were doing their work. But I'm happy to say, as of yesterday, COB has graciously consented to have us on the campus, and the Minister of Education has done, and the Director of Education has done wonders in getting everything sorted out for us to be on UB's campus. And as of Monday, our students at T.A. Thompson will be back face-to-face on University of Bahamas campus. Right now, as I speak, they are relocating equipment and books and whatever instructional materials needed from T.A. Thompson to the UB campus, where we will be face-to-face.
And how are you keeping parents and the children enthused about education? Because virtual has proven hard, but you say that most of the students there were online.
Yes. Now remember, let's speak with the parents first. You have to have an open door so that when parents have concerns, they should be able to reach out, and you must have a good spirit to deal with parents so that you can answer their questions and their concerns, and rightly so, because they are indeed worthy of having their concerns. The students, the teachers have to make it the learning fun. You and I, if we sit online and it's not fun, we tend to drift off. So learning is made fun, and then we tend to have a lot of interactive teaching strategies just to ensure that the children or the students are kept focused on what is being taught.
Mrs. Roberts, I want to go back to you wearing not the hat as district superintendent, but as head of that subcommittee doing the community walkabouts. The children at T.A. Thompson, have they all been found? Because I live in that area, and I am not so certain that all of those children have been located. Has a walkabout been conducted in that area?
A walkabout has been conducted in that area, and no, not all of the students have been found yet, but we are continually going at ensuring that these students are found, because there is a contingency plan in place whereby it's a sustainability type of plan whereby students who were not found, we are going to ensure, for instance, that our attendance officers, along with the community partners, assist in finding any student in any community who has not yet been found. But I wish to say also, since the reopening of school face-to-face, many of those students who were considered missing have returned to school.
And you also, during the break, you talked about the importance of having the police and other stakeholders on your community walkabouts. How so?
Well, we have forged a great relationship with our stakeholders, and it is so important. It is important because it's not just the job of the Ministry of Education, it is the job of all of us to ensure that our children are learning, whether it be virtually or whether it be face-to-face. It is our job. So we have forged relationships, for instance, with all of our community partners, social services, as well as the police, Royal Bahamas Police Force. They were phenomenal in the actual walkabouts, as well as we have forged relationships with our church partners as well. So we have our pastors, everybody who is now out there being vigilant and assisting with our students returning to school.
Yes.
Could I add a little bit to that, since you mentioned T.A. Thompson? Now, T.A. Thompson is a part of the Northern New Providence Secondary District. And so I'm just give you some information about what happened on the walkabout in our district. We had 158 persons across the communities participating with us in the 8 schools walkabout. We visited 455 homes in that district. And out of the 455 homes, we had 226 students identified. Now, you mentioned T.A. Thompson. In walking, we came across one of the homes, and the students came out, the children came out, and we asked John, why are you not in school? He said, I am on the online. I said, which school? T.A. Thompson. So why are you out? He said, I'm on break now, and I'm going inside right now. Wow. So I was happy to know we identified T.A. Thompson, and they were online. Now, I can be honest with you, the numbers are dwindling, okay? Excellent. And one of the schools, we have every child accounted for. Every child accounted for. And in some of the schools, the numbers are very, very low, because right now, parents are bringing their children back to be registered. And I contribute that to this walkabout.
Yes.
Okay?
That's the same thing you
Walk
say.
about.
But I also want you, in closing this segment, I need you to talk directly to parents of those who are not consistent in ensuring that their children are engaged in formal education. Talk directly to them before we go to our break.
Parents, the treasure you have in your house is the leader of tomorrow. And if you should damage your child today, what will our country be tomorrow? Parents, God has given you that treasure. Do the very best you can to help that treasure. Getting that child to school, if he doesn't have uniform, bring them in something decent. Do not keep that child at home. If you need help, reach out to us. Our doors are open.
Yes.
We will help you. And if I can't help you, I know somebody else who can help you. The district superintendents, we work together. We reach out and we help each other. Parents, 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 do your very best to get your child back in school. Don't let anything stop that future prime minister, that future doctor of tomorrow, that future nurse, or even, I must say, the future teacher, does not get the opportunity he so rightly deserves. Parents, try, and try.
We could not have ended on a better note. Thank you very much, Mrs. Annette Farquharson. You're watching Ed Table Talk. There's still much more to come. Stay with us.
Hi there. A lot is happening in education, and that's why the Ministry of Education wants to keep you abreast of the latest information. So here's how. MOE provides a variety of programs, including Ed Talk, Ed Up, Ed Tidbits, Ed Table Talk Unplugged. Lock into this channel, the Bahamas Learning Channel, MOE's Facebook page, and YouTube channel. We want to keep you in the know.
Welcome back. It's our final segment of Ed Table Talk Unplugged. And now we welcome Miss Michelle Bowleg, District Superintendent for the South Central Bahamas District. She's a native Androsian and proud of her Andros roots. Tell us about your work as District Superintendent.
Thank you for having me on the show. I'd like to say that the responsibility of district superintendents is very vast. The first thing we do is we actually ensure and we liaison with principal, making sure that goals are formulated in schools, whether it be long-term or short-term goals. In addition to that, we assist school management in terms of deployment of teachers, posting of teachers. Certainly we do assessment of administrators. And on the Family Island superintendents are even given added responsibility in terms of procuring supplies. Sometimes you'd have to actually take them to the boat to be distributed to the various schools. In addition to that, there is budgeting that must be done for things like busing, the lunch program.
Wow.
Certainly, when there are conflicts in schools, sometimes we are asked to come in and resolve those conflicts if they're not resolved by principals. And so that is just a tiny bit of what school superintendents do. We are certainly they say, superintendents.
There you go, superintendent. As a former newsman, I'm always hearing about parents are staging a protest in Nagua, in Acklands, claiming that there is no teacher here for that. How are those issues resolved?
Well, certainly there have been challenges in terms of our schools in the South Central Bahamas always been fully staffed. The ministry has actually tried to combat that, and therefore the birth of the virtual school was actually created. And so there are some challenges, nevertheless, in terms of connectivity on some of those islands. Some students are still unable to get on. And of course, we have persons who are initially hired, and then they say, I'd love to go to the Family Island. But after, then we find out that they changed their mind.
Wow.
And so sometimes it is difficult getting persons to go to the South Central Bahamas. But once they go there, rest assured they do not want to come back to New Providence or go anyplace else in this country.
How do you keep those posts filled?
Some teachers who live on family islands most of their lives, and so therefore they prefer to live on an island rather than in a city. And so there are some persons who are willing to go. And of course, we have teachers that are married to persons who work on the family islands, whether it be in banking or some other profession. And so they join their husband on those islands.
What are your recommendations to fill someone, say like a woodwork teacher? What's your suggestion to fill the void?
Of course, there are many persons who live on the family islands with special skills. For example, there are carpenters, there are mechanics. They may not have the academic side of what is expected. However, they certainly are masters of their trade. And so therefore, I think that the ministry should actually engage such persons once they've been properly vetted, because they can actually do the job. And then I think that that will really decrease some of the vacancies that exist on some of our family islands.
Yes, and back to you, Mrs. Roberts. What advice do you have for parents and students going forward? Because the pandemic is still around. We are heading back to full face-to-face, but we don't know what the future holds.
Let me start by saying that we do have some students like your T.A. Thompson who are very much still virtual, and whereas we have a number of our students who are back face-to-face now. To refer to the walkabout, particularly in our findings and what it indicated, we know that there are challenges within some of our homes, be it a lack of connectivity, whether it be the fact that they have no electricity, whether it be the fact that they are prioritizing in terms of, I need to supply my children with a roof over their heads, and education has become secondary. My advice to all parents out there, education is key.
Certainly, teachers are needed across the Bahamas. And so I think the first step in attracting teachers is that the community must value teachers.
It is extremely important that you ensure that your children are in school. The difficulties that you may face, schools are there to assist in every way that we can.
Teachers, we need you more than ever before.
Yes.
Not only our students, our country. If we are going to build and succeed in this country, this beloved Bahamas, we need teachers, and we need every stakeholder, everyone on the outside, to encourage them to be a part of this wonderful and great profession.
There you go. Thank you very much. We'd like to thank both you, Mrs. Roberts and Ms. Bowleg, for appearing with us, and we'd also like to thank Mrs. Annette Farquharson. If you would like to receive updates on what's happening at the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training, text us at 819-BMOE. That's 819-2663. Or visit our website, hit us up on Facebook, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and other social media platforms. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. You were watching Ed Table Talk Unplugged. I'm Vaughn Aubrey. Join us next time.